the worst year for a lot of us for our mental as well as physical health. So joining us this morning is best-selling author, coach, and fitness expert, Lisa Goldenthal.
Hello and welcome. I'm Lisa G, your host. You're at the top of your game, yet the game is changing faster than ever. Strategies that got you here aren't the ones that'll keep you here. The pressure is relentless and the fear of obsolescence looms large. That's why I'm here. Welcome to the new podcast series, Disrupted: How to Be Gritty and Unlock Performance. This is your chance where I sit down with today's top experts in business, mindset, wellness, and success to help you master disruption and thrive.
Thanks for coming, and I'll see you soon.
She's a best-selling author, top 50 keynote speaker, TEDx speaker, podcast host, and board member of HealthLinked Corporation, a former C-suite executive in media, named one of the most influential women in radio in 2017, and Thrive Global named her a limit-breaking female founder in 2018. After an unexpected termination, she wrote and self-published her first book, Confidence Creator. In 2019, she launched her podcast, Creating Confidence, top 25 show on Apple Podcast Business Chart Weekly, named one of the top 50 keynote speakers of 2020 and top 50 keynote speakers in the world in 2022 by Real Leaders. Girls Club named her the Thought Leader of the Year in 2021, and in 2023 she was highlighted as Fabicon's top 200 LinkedIn creator list. Her second book, Overcome Your Villains, published by HarperCollins Leadership, is available now. Welcome to the podcast, Heather Monahan.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to have you here as such a shining example of what is possible. Let's talk about one of your favorite topics here with confidence. I know that confidence is not necessarily something we were all born with, speaking from experience. Is it something we can create?
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody and everybody can create it. And oftentimes you'll see people will be really confident at work, but maybe they're not confident at the gym, or you're confident in your personal relationship, but you're not if you're taking a stage. It definitely is not a static entity that, is always running at a high level across the boards. And that's really promising for people to know that at different times you might experience higher and lower levels of confidence. And there's definite steps and action steps that you can take and decisions you can make to impact that in a positive way.
Well, asking for a friend, I know for me, public speaking was always one of my hardest things. The fear, I don't know where it came from, some like deep childhood things probably. And I decided to do it anyhow. So what steps could you advise our audience to take if they want to start being like a leader in public speaking like you are?
Well, first of all, take as many stages as possible, whether it means volunteering at your kid's school and speaking at the PTA meeting, or, donating your time to a charity and speaking for their events. You've got to get up and speak. And so create the opportunities by doing it for free if you have to, but take as many stages as possible, say yes to them all. That's how you become more confident and more comfortable speaking. You just got to speak. And so people don't typically want to put all that level of work in, but it makes a huge difference. I always recommend go to venues before you're going to speak ahead of time so you can see yourself there. You can get comfortable with the environment, wear clothes that you feel really powerful in. I always leave myself messages on the bottom of my shoes. Visualize yourself doing it, practice, right? Get up. And I many times before I gave my TEDx talk, I would be at a meeting, a business meeting, and I'd say, hey, does anyone mind if I get up for 10 minutes and give a talk right now? I would give that talk everywhere and anywhere I could. The more reps you put in, the more practice you put in, the more comfortable you're going to be in any environment. When everything could go wrong, you're going to feel really confident within yourself.
Well, thanks for all those hot tips. I think especially practicing and just being willing to fail. I mean, you're not going to be good right out of the gate, are you?
Most people aren't going to be a great speaker the first time they get up. But if you look at any type of career, whether it be an athlete, right? Michael Jordan didn't make the NBA the first year he started. He didn't even make his high school team when he first tried out, right? So you have to look at other people and say, okay, if they could fail at first and not make it, but then ultimately make it to the highest levels, there's no reason why I can't do the same thing.
I love it. Thanks for being such an inspiration in the world of shattering glass ceilings for women. And I know I've been following you on LinkedIn. We're connected there. And I love the topic of grit and adversity and failing forward because I started my podcast in 2020. This was hard for me. All of the pivots I had to make. I know it's hard for everyone. So do you want to share some of your adversity story of how you actually had to change and create this new business?
Sure. So in 2017, I was unexpectedly fired right after I was named one of the most influential women in radio. I had no idea it was going to happen. The CEO I had worked for 14 years became ill, and he elevated his daughter to replace him. She fired me immediately. And I had a non-compete, non-solicit for 18 months, which meant I had to leave the industry that I had expertise in and start over as a beginner somewhere. And that was really hard because I hadn't been a beginner. I'd been at the top of my career for a very long time and I'd worked really hard at it. So I never thought it could just disappear overnight. And it literally did. So I had to decide, where do I want to start over as a beginner? And ultimately I decided I just want to roll the dice on me. I put a post up on social media and said, I've just been fired. If I've ever done anything to help you, I need to hear from you now. That post went viral and landed me on the Elvis Duran show, which ultimately halfway through that interview, he said to me, well, Heather, obviously you're writing a book, but I wasn't writing a book. I had never even thought about writing a book. My career had always been sales and sales leadership. And something about him transferring that belief and that clarity into me, I jumped on the plane to leave New York and head back to Miami. And I Googled, how do you write a book? And it said, you just have to be disciplined and write. And so I got home and I just started writing. And over the next few months, that's what I did every day. And when I got far enough along, I invested in myself. I hired someone who had been where I wanted to go. I hired an editor who had written 19 books. And he and I finished that book really quickly and self-published it, having no idea what I was doing. But that book trumped Donald Trump for #1 on the business biography list the first week it came out, and did incredibly well and set me down a completely different trajectory that I never would have ever stepped into or realized had I not been fired.
Well, I love so much about you, the way that you say yes to stuff, the way that you took yourself on, the way you invested in yourself. So many times when we're really into personal development and people know they need to change and they know that they're stuck and they keep not making it happen, then they get into this fear of like, I don't want to invest in myself. I don't want to spend the money, which is fear talking, right? So how can people listening to this now lead themselves and stop making excuses to create a personal brand, create a business based on themselves that isn't going anywhere?
I mean, you got to choose to see fear as a green light that means go and go faster. If what you've been doing thus far hasn't worked, it's time to try a different strategy. My entire book, Overcome Your Villains, is all about stepping into fear, removing negative people and negative talk from your life so that you can start seeing that fear as that green light that means go, and seeing that fear as that opportunity. I'm living proof that, rejection is not an ultimate rejection. It's an ultimate redirection to something so much better if you allow it to be. But I certainly recommend people to hold themselves accountable. I know that I shared that link with you at my website, heathermonahan.com. I've got a 30-day free accountability program. Hold yourself accountable, get clear on your vision, write it down, and go for it, and let nothing stop you.
I love that you're such a shining example of what is possible when you take yourself on, you do the hard things, you do the scary things, you step into your fear. And I know you've built quite a personal brand for yourself. And can you talk a little bit about why that's necessary right now?
Yeah, I mean, everyone should have a personal brand. People do business with people they know, like, and trust. So for me, when companies reach out to me to hire me for speaking engagements, they feel like they know me before they get on a Zoom meeting with me. They already know what I'm about, what I represent, what I'm going to be sharing and teaching from a stage, because I share it daily on social media. And I've been doing that consistently now for 6 years. And yeah, it's a big investment, right? I mean, I don't do it myself. I have a team of people that do it alongside with me. And for 6 years to make that investment has been, it's a lot, but there's a compounding effect, just like a podcast. Your audience is going to grow, your community is going to grow, your opportunities are going to grow. And the more you can be forward facing, the faster, people are going to get to know you, the faster your magic is going to come forward. And the sooner you're going to attract those right opportunities into your world.
Well, I love the fact that we are all selling ourselves. Like our personal brand is people get to know, like, and trust you. And what do you say to people if they're like, well, I don't look like Heather. How am I going to get out there and sell myself and create a personal brand? Because we all want to stand out and not be vanilla.
Look at any of these lists that are out there right now. It's not the best looking person is the one with the largest following. That is not the case. It's the person that's leaning into owning something. They're owning a hill. They're sharing their expertise. It isn't about what you look like. Instagram is definitely more, in my opinion, about what you look like and, bathing suit shots and all that. But LinkedIn specifically is really about where business gets done, what expertise you can share, what you can teach others, and how you can elevate them.
And LinkedIn, I know, is where I first met you, and it's a long game, isn't it? Because I know everybody wants the easy button, but all the things you've accomplished in your life, you've put in the reps, you've put in the work. What would you say to encourage people to just start and don't be like a hobbyist, but just be a professional and stay the course?
Well, for me, it took years for my community on LinkedIn to really grow, but I have met plenty of people in the last year that have blown up in the last 6 months. Just because it took me 5 years to get a large audience doesn't mean it's going to take you 5 years. You just start moving forward with that commitment, that vision of where you're going, sharing what it is that you know, and you never know what miracles can happen. I've seen it happen for a few different people that their audiences are as big as mine, and it's happened for them in under a year.
Wow, that is typical, not really typical though, but it's so good that you're so optimistic and you share all the possibilities of what is possible. So it might not take as long as it took you or me to build up on LinkedIn, podcast, social media, all that, all of the things. But what about consistency and discipline to do the hard things to get there?
Yeah, I mean, no one's going to do this for you unless you're just going to go out, work, and take the resources and hire a team, which is an option. That's an option to do it. But I would strongly suggest being a part of the team so that your voice is being heard and your content is going to be unique and different and representative of who you are. But the most important thing is you've got to show up on the daily. I didn't show up every couple of days for 6 years. I show up every day for 6 years, right? So be committed to showing up, be committed to your messaging, be committed to your audience, respond to their comments, respond to their DMs, right? All of those things have a big impact on growing your personal brand, growing your audience, and growing your community.
Those are amazing tips about the discipline and consistency that you put in to get where you are today. Final questions. Basically, the topic of this podcast series is disrupted, how to be gritty and unlock performance. So do you have any final pieces of advice for our audience on grit and performance?
Yeah, I mean, everyone wants the easy button, but if success was easy, everybody would have it. You need to understand that you're going to have to go through some challenges. You're going to have to overcome some adversity. That's part of the journey. And that's where most people give up and quit. So instead of seeing it as, oh, this might be a sign that I should back out of it, see it as a sign that I'm going to be the 1% that actually gets over it and finds a way through it. And when you get that clear on your why you're doing it, why it's important to you, never give up thinking about those things, whether it's your child or the example you're setting or the people that you get to help. When you're really connected to, the mission and purpose why you're doing something, it's really hard to stop someone in their tracks.
I love that piece of advice about getting really deep into your why. Like, why do you want this? Why will you get up on the days when you don't feel like it and do the things that are hard that you don't feel like doing? That's such wonderful advice. And I know you talked briefly about the free gift you have for our audience, because I believe accountability is a cornerstone for getting goals accomplished. So why don't you tell our audience, where can people find you and about your free gift again?
I'm on all social media at Heather Monahan. My books are Confidence Creator and Overcome Your Villains. And my podcast is Creating Confidence with Heather Monahan. My website's heathermonahan.com. And you can go there to get the 30-day free accountability program. You'll get an email from me every single day for 30 days advising you to work through the challenges, giving you some strategies and techniques to create confidence and not give up when the going gets tough.
Well, thank you for your generosity. I will be signing up for that offer. I hope you guys are too. And thanks for being a great guest.
Thanks, Lisa.